Welcome to episode 42 of Oscar Sunday. I'm Austin Johnson.
I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
And today we are going to talk about Federico Fellini's La Strada from 1954, which won the Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film and also got a nomination for Best Original Screenplay at the 29th Academy Awards. Now, the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film, it's got a totally different title today, but La Strada is the very first winner of this award. They gave out honorary awards for a while from 1947 up until 1956. And then at the 29th Academy Awards in 1957, they recognized La Strada against other films. So it became competitive for foreign films to compete over here in the United States at the Oscars. I want to open up a little discussion about this category and just kind of how silly it is, especially now. Maybe then, maybe back then, especially early on when you have a lot of silent films. You know, what are you going to do there? But now, especially now, it seems like we could get rid of this kind of a category and just let all movies compete together. What do you think?
I disagree.
Okay, let's hear it.
So I think right now we are kind of opening that barrier, but with this past Oscars, we see, the director of Another Round, I forget his name, getting a nomination. Thomas Vinterberg getting up for director.
Legend. Awesome movie. Yeah. I can't wait for you to see it.
I'm excited. I can't wait to see that too. I love Mads Mikkelsen to death.
It may be the most interesting role I've ever seen him in. So yeah, I'm not going to say his best because he has a lot of great work.
Yeah.
But I cannot wait for you to see him in this movie. Yeah, it's great.
Fantastic. But I think that, foreign film, especially in America, does not have an audience as big as it should. And it's always been kind of like that because we've never really been one for foreign influence, which is really fucking sad. But I think highlighting these films, giving, international film an opportunity to be recognized at the Oscars is an opportunity for that spotlight to be shown on them in a way that I don't think it would in America. International film doesn't really, make bucks here. So this is, I think, a good way for people to kind of, find out about these films. I like it. I think it does good things. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's like Facebook. I think there's pros and cons. I think it is good for that exact thing that you're saying when the Oscar nominations come out, or you're looking online at past Oscar, ceremonies, and you see that foreign language category, and some people's interest might be piqued because, oh, hey, these 5 movies are from completely different places, and I know that going into them, right? And that's not the case for a lot of the other categories. They're going to be mostly American or British or whatever it may be, English-speaking movies. So I get that there's kind of intent there when you're seeking out that category.
Yeah,
and there's definitely pros to that because you're intentionally going out of your way to watch something that is from a different place, of a different culture, and that's awesome. I definitely do try to do that intentionally. I'll try to watch movies from places from countries that, I've never seen a movie from there, so I'm going to go ahead and watch one from here. See what's going on in Ukraine, see what's going on, in whatever it may be, see what's going on in South Africa, see what's going on in Kenya. You just never know what's going on in movies, and that's great. But I also, as just a kind of competitive natured person, if I were, Bong Joon-ho, and Parasite, I get all these wins, I'd be like, yeah, I should be in those categories. I should be allowed to be in those categories. But I also don't know if I should have a category made up just because it's you have to read subtitles. And so then I think in turn, it creates a thing where people stay away from them. Now, these are probably not huge movie people, but these are also people who just watch some movies. And if they see, oh man, like I gotta do subtitles for that, that kind of sucks, And it's all kind of a mind game to me, because I think, and I've used this movie before as an example, but with like something like Inglourious Bastards, you go into it, it's Quentin Tarantino, it's a gritty American filmmaker. Well, you're going to be reading subtitles on goddamn what? Should that be up for best foreign language film? Should it be? I don't know. I mean, Minari is more American than Inglourious Bastards as far as landscape and what's happening geographically. You know what I'm saying? And I think it gets kind of gray sometimes. And there's for sure pros and cons to it. But I fear, just as like a huge movie fan, that gray line, I kind of want it to be in or out. You know what I'm saying? And I wish there wasn't. I kind of wish this category didn't exist sometimes.
Well, I feel like the Oscars have realized that Minari and Inglourious Bastards are technically foreign language films. That's why they changed it to best international film. So it is not, anything that is an American production doesn't count. And they are, I think it's kind of best of both worlds right now, where I get my foreign language film category and you get your inclusion with the other categories. Because the Academy is really kind of giving everything a chance right now. And that's good. It hasn't always been like that, but I think right now everything's getting a shot at, primo nominations, and they are picking the best films, not necessarily the best American films, but the best films.
Yeah. That's I agree. I think there has been progress, fucking knock on wood, but I think there has been progress the past few years. It's that conversation that's kind of could go on forever about, more movies get more shout outs, more nominations if there's this category, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's good things about that. I just, where I'm coming from, right? You know what I'm saying? It just, I fear a little bit of that kind of that perspective thing where, English speaking movies are the most important, therefore they're going to dominate. And then we're going to have a special category for the movies that aren't English speaking. And that's where it gets kind of tricky for me, because there are movies out there that we just don't know about. And how can we justify that all of these English speaking movies deserve all of these nominations over these other movies? It's very hard to decipher that, right? And that's why award shows are just tough to kind of wrap your head around. But I love these discussions. I love just kind of thinking about, what are these categories? What do they mean? What do they offer us?
Well, I mean, again, we do have to remember that the Oscars is an American award show.
It is. It is.
In France, mostly French movies are nominated. It really comes down to country of origin preference. And that sucks, but that's just the way of the world.
Yeah, you would just hope. Here we're talking about, we're not, the Golden Globes are obviously a popularity contest, but we're talking about the Oscars, and we would hope that the most quote unquote prestigious and popular award, organization would just hold themselves to a whole different standard. And we can only hope. And I think I think you're right that they are kind of, meeting in the middle, kind of finding a way to represent some of these really cool films like Another Round. And also, hey, Minari is just straight up in this category as well. And we've seen it. We did Z 1969, which got in that best picture category. Movies definitely sneak in sometimes. It just kind of raises your eyebrow that it hasn't happened more often.
Also, I think that on the other side of it, if the Oscars just one day decided to get rid of that category, they are going to come under heavy fire for being, racist or, white nationalists just for getting rid of the foreign category. So
no one has the capacity to think about that. Yeah. Yeah.
You want to say something that really pissed me off from this Oscars, and this is petty, but I don't care. They folded best sound mixing and best sound editing into one category. And instead of calling it best sound design, they went right back to the fucking like 90s and called it best sound again.
Best, yes, we've talked about this before. Gotta love that. Just best sound.
And now we're stuck with fucking best sound again. Now, like, I hate that so much. I don't know why I hate that. It's too vague.
Because it sucks. Because it sucks, man. it's stupid. It's yeah. I saw that too, and I was like, oh god, of course it's gonna get brought up because that's been a running thing on here. Whenever we do older movies, and you just see best sound. Oh yeah, I'm the best sound winner. Yeah.
So I'm on board with the international film thing. I do think that in the past, representation abroad has not been great.
Yeah.
It's been pretty much narrowed down to that category, apart from very few exceptions. But I think we also have to remember the films that those films were up against. And sometimes, the Americans win out for a reason. They were better films.
Yes, of course. Sometimes, yeah, the English speaking, whether it be from England or US or Canada or whatever, are just really solid. We've, come some kind of way as far as cinema goes here in the United States of just, whatever it counts for, seeing, women like Chloe Zhao, Regina King, and these Emerald Fennell, all these women kind of be in the kind of award show cycle is really cool. We pay attention to that stuff. We care about this kind of shit. Obviously, we have a realistic approach to the Oscars, but we also, we care to an extent, about the outcome and what it has an effect on these different careers. And the guy we're talking about today, it has greatly impacted his career and his legacy here, especially in the Western part of the United States, Western part of the world. Italian Federico Fellini. This guy has an incredible resume as far as the Oscars go, and art house film lovers kind of adore him. Without the Oscars, without all that stuff, it's just kind of a European god when it comes to the 50s, 60s, 70s guy just kind of churning stuff out. But for me, learning about him, it definitely was just a guy that I like. Fellini and Godard are guys you hear people talk about like on movies or shows where they just sound like pretentious assholes. Or guys who probably went to film school, right? And like carry themselves a certain way. And so I kind of stayed away from that kind of stuff, And then, the past few years, I've just kind of put all my walls down and just kind of bring everything on, just bring it on, and of course, some of Fellini's films are heavily, heavily critically acclaimed and have lived on today to be quote unquote masterpieces, right? And I've only seen 4 of his films. I believe you've seen 3 now.
Yes.
And that's not a lot, obviously, for any filmmaker who has a heavy catalog, heavy resume, and has such a huge legacy like Fellini. With that being said, I think it's important to set aside all of that kind of fan shit that's just around people, because it clearly creates creates a certain ego about the filmmaker. And Fellini is a guy from what we've read, definitely from what I've read, is got a certain ego about him. And La Strada is the film that we chose because it's the winner of the category we were just talking about. And we wanted to, go ahead and cover the first winner ever of this category. Neither of us had seen this film. But, I want to talk about this guy. I want to talk about the movies that you and I got to watch this past week. I watched Knights of Cabiria, 8.5, and Amarcord, and I believe you got to watch the latter two.
Yeah, I was not able to get to Knights of Cabiria, regrettably, but I did watch Amarcord and 8.5.
Yes, and the reason these four films are kind of on the table is because all four of these won Best Foreign Language Film. That'd be La Strada came out in 1954, Knights of Kabira came out in 1957, Eight and a Half 1963, and Amar Accord 1973. So they all competed, of course, like a year later. That happens a lot with foreign movies back in the day. And we put these four movies kind of on the table. I know you weren't able to get to Knights, but he has the most wins of any writer director, right? He has four altogether. These are all written and directed by him, And I know you have some thoughts on his just kind of, general, these movies just in general, but what does that mean to you as a movie fan when you go into a director's a specific part of his catalog and you see that these are all winners, of Best Foreign Language Film, and some of them got other nominations as well outside of the foreign language category, like La Strada got the screenplay nomination. What does that do for you going into it? Do you have a certain expectation, or what does it do for you?
Well, it depends on the artist for the most part. I feel like I've absorbed a lot of random background knowledge of a lot of these guys. So when I go in, I just kind of remember like, oh, that's, Federico Fellini, Eight and a Half, So I already know that these guys are critically acclaimed and considered some of the greatest directors of all time. So a 4-time win for Best Foreign Language Film tells me this guy has something. This guy is important to the evolution of film. So I should check these out. And, there's certain directors that I think, I can't call myself a film buff if I don't check out their work. And Federico Fellini is one of those guys. I don't necessarily have to like it, but I have to try.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I can say that I've seen 3 of Federico Fellini's films. I regret nothing.
Yeah. Oh, I kind of feel the same way always, no matter what, if I go into watching a few movies from a director or if it's a specific screenplay writer or an actor, no matter what, I'm kind of grateful for that experience because you get to dive into a specific part of cinema. And like you said, whether you kind of personally dig it or not, it's good to have that knowledge and that kind of firsthand experience. And with Fellini, it's a 100% necessary. There is nothing I can say about what I thought prior to seeing his movies that would really mean anything. It was just these thoughts of like, oh, Fellini, that just must be what film school people watch. And you realize these are just fucking movies. They're just fucking movies. They're 2.5 hour movies that this guy made, and some of them good, some of them not, just like everybody else.
I've often said in the past, I think on this show, that nothing is a classic to everybody, that it's all subjective. And there are some classics that have not aged particularly well, that aren't going to resonate with everybody. And that's okay. Nothing is going to be amazing to every person who sees it. And I think that a lot of these classic films have have that almost like a reverse stigma, like you need to like this. And that's just not true of any movie ever made, of anything really. There's nothing on this earth that you are forced to like when it comes to art. And I wish that this was more, accepted in the film community, where you can just kind of like what you like and not like what you don't like. There's nothing wrong with that. No one's going to come down on you for not enjoying a 2.5 hour Italian film from 1963.
Yeah. Oh, that's an ever going thing, and I think always reminding yourself that people watch movies differently. People watch movies differently. People like different things. Reminding yourself over and over, because you tend to, most movie fans, tend to kind of just, you just gather these favorites, and you'll feel personally attacked, when someone's like, fuck your shit. And you're like, no, like, but think about all the shit that they do like about your pile, and it's good to have those differences.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we have another difference here today. I'm glad we have a definite differentiator, again. And with episode, what was it, 39, when we did Faces from
Yeah.
1968. Clearly you watched that one and you watched a Woman Under the Influence, and you were kind of like, come on, just where's the story at? You were really affected by how it was mostly just kind of camera work and not a lot of character development. I totally understand that. That's your style.
I didn't like Faces. I thought Cassavetes was, a little pretentious, a little, like, didn't have much to say. And you loved it. And, I didn't hate you for it. We're still very good friends. Nothing changed.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it has to be that way. And I think with movies, especially, you got to just be flat out honest, about, about how you feel about them. And if you take a liking to something, hold on to it, and really don't be afraid to be the person who's like, yeah, this is my shit, this is mine, and kind of step up and do that. With that being said, I'll say a bit about Knights of Cabiria. We're going to talk a lot about Strada, give awards out to that movie, and that's going to be a lot of fun because I know you actually kind of dug that one. So, but Knights of Cabiria, it's back-to-back wins, the 29th Academy Awards and the 30th Academy Awards. Fellini takes the back-to-back foreign language film win. I think you would dig this one too, because it's a solid story about, with the same lead actress, his wife at the time, Giulietta Messina, and she is spectacular, in La Strada, and she's spectacular in Knights of Cabiria. She plays a woman named Cabiria, and she is a prostitute kind of wandering the streets of Rome, and just kind of runs into some trouble here and there. And it's pretty fucking bleak, as you could expect from old boy Fellini. I think it's immediately reminded me of course, Jean-Luc Godard's Vivre sa vie from the 60s, which I actually think you would like that one too. I know you have your thoughts about Breathless and and A Woman is a Woman. I think you don't like that one either. Yeah.
I haven't seen that one, but I have seen Breathless, and this isn't really the time, but I could fill 2 hours of podcasts with how much I don't like that movie.
Yeah. That one's pretty good, but I love Vivre sa vie. I really like that one. And I think I think it reminded me a lot of Knights of Cabiria. And I do think the early Fellini, the 50s stuff here is probably more your bag, It's not on the surface, just not nearly as egotistical, not nearly as pretentious.
I bet. Yeah. One thing I realized with La Strada is that this is a guy who probably was telling stories early on in his career and developed into an artiste. So, as most directors do.
Yeah.
Spielberg, in 2000s ain't making Jaws anymore. So, yeah, I think every director has, their early work where they want to, make their mark as a storyteller. But as they become more famous and more appreciated and more respected, they, let their ego drive. And that's how we end up with stuff like this.
Yeah. And that's a great segue into 8.5. 1963. And it was up for a total of 5 Oscars. Best art direction, set direction, best screenplay, best director, and then it won best foreign language film and best costume design. Now, of the 4 that I've seen of Fellini's work, this is of course this is my personal favorite, and it is an obvious influencer in some of my favorite guys, mainly David Lynch. It clearly speaks to directors. It's about a director kind of losing his shit, and kind of some of the imagery of him, like, he's like being pulled down by the rope, and these fucking producers, these bastards are like demanding, me make this movie, and he's like totally not interested in making this fucking sci-fi movie. And I love watching that movie. I watched this a while back, when I first signed up for Criterion, like a year ago, and I was just kind of blown away by the cinematography. Is pretty outrageous, I read somewhere someone said you've never seen the color white until you've watched 8.5.
I read that too. I was like,
Yeah.
fuck you, dude.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I would never type that, but I thought that was fucking funny as shit. And this movie, like a lot of my personal favorite movies, is so up its own ass and devastatingly egotistical. And when you see how he thought of it, it's just kind of like disgusting. With that being said, I've seen it twice now, and at first I gave it an 8, and I raised it to a 9. And I know you have your feelings about it. I'll let you have your go at it. I just think why I like it, so it's going to be hard for me to really justify anything. We did episode 100 on Filmgazm about Twin Peaks, and I was just like, yeah, I like it. I'm very much a sucker for being distracted, for being kind of stunted by style, and Fellini definitely has an eye and has a liking for style. And 8.5 is this movie I had definitely heard about the most of all of his work, and had a certain expectation, and it met it for me. I'm definitely looking forward to watching this movie again, and this would be a really interesting one to do as a base movie on. I'm just kidding. No, go ahead, man. I know you gave it a 5. I read your review. I'll let you have your go at it. Yeah, 8.5.
Before I get started, the reason I don't consider you a pretentious film snob because you like these movies is because you are very aware that these films are up their own ass. And I'm very happy that you realize that and recognize that. So I know that you genuinely like these films for their style. I had to come to terms with that when I saw videos, interviews and stuff of Tarantino and Paul Thomas Anderson in the 90s, and I was like, oh, a couple of my favorite filmmakers of all time are kind of douchebags. It happens. It's okay. I think they're also like great for cinema, great for film. But of course, at times they're going to sound like fucking d-bags. That's just the way it is. I think I do sometimes. I not as bad as some of these filmmakers, but it's a fascinating discussion. Oh man, we have a podcast called Oscar Sunday. It's hard not to, occasionally be up our own ass. So 8.5 lost me almost immediately.
Okay, hold on. Hold you there, because you texted me and you were like, I'm kind of digging this. When was that? 10 minutes in?
Had to have been. Yeah, at first I don't even fucking remember. It was so much movie.
Yeah, it's a dream. Yeah. Or a nightmare for your...
Yeah, I think it was when he's at a party and people are talking to him and he's like, I don't really want to make this movie. And they're like, well, hey, you got any work? And he's like, I don't really know if I'm making the movie. And then it kind of just descended into chaos, and I was like, where am I right now? Like, I watched it over a course of 2 days, and it put me to sleep both times, and I had to kind of wake myself up and get like rewind to get back into it, and it was just like, God. And I was pretty aggressive in my review, I'll admit that.
No, I love it. I love it.
It was just, I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't care. And if I don't care, I'm out. Like, that's a big part of a movie for me. Like, if I don't give a shit about what's going on, I'm not going to like it.
Yeah. I totally hear you. And especially through the course of this show, now 42 episodes in, we both have learned so much about just kind of our personal taste.
Yeah.
Because this movie we're just kind of fucking putting them on the block, and
man,
we're being harsh on them, praising them, and being honest.
Of our 3 podcasts, this is the one that has really made me kind of take a look at myself and realize, like, who am I as a movie fan? Who am I as a film buff? What do I like? What do I hate? What can't I stand? What do I rally behind? And it's really interesting because every episode changes me a little bit. It's really kind of remarkable. Like the same, I am not the same man I was when we did Pulp Fiction. It's crazy.
I feel you on that. I feel you on that, man. I think it's the rate at which it's going with this show, because each week, we're really trying to hone in on something. And in this case, it's Fellini, and 3 movies for 3 or 4 movies is to stay in one place is a lot for 1 week. But we love it. We love doing that, kind of taking it snippet at a time, and kind of, like you said, you kind of change and adapt piece by piece, week by week, by adding on these people who have this legacy, not just with the Oscars, but movies in general, and, when we're talking about Tarantino and Fellini, their names go far beyond the Oscars. They are what represent, the history of cinema. When you think about the giant names through each decade, those are kind of the, for as ridiculous as it sounds, those are kind of the people that matter when we're talking about this stuff with the bigger picture. The people who contribute these pieces of work, those are the guys that we're always going to talk about.
The way I see it, every episode we do is me putting another piece of this ongoing puzzle on the board. I don't know what the puzzle is going to look like, but I'm having a blast building it. And I know that it's going to just continue to look amazing. And I don't know if I'll ever finish the puzzle, but I'm going to keep building it because it's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, I like getting that piece and plugging it in to the right place. Yeah.
And 8.5 was a jagged, boring as fuck piece. But, that's me.
Yeah.
I consider this film to be, in certain circles, a film that some people use so they sound smart at parties. So they don't, they say they like it so they don't look like the odd man out. I think some people genuinely do use Fellini to sound smart. Not everybody, but some people certainly do. Because I've met these people. I've been in film classes with these people who just brought up Fellini and Godard and are just like,
yeah.
Aren't they just amazing? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I haven't seen their movies. And then I saw their movies and I'm like, not really. No.
Fine. Yeah.
I don't get it. I'm sure in 1960, this was something else, but nowadays I have seen better.
Well, yeah. And the thing is you're not just some jackass who's just watching movies from now. We not too long ago, we were putting fucking Elmer Gantry in the Oscar Hall of Fame. Like, this is certified awesome shit. One of the coolest best actor wins of all time,
When it comes to film, I will watch anything from any decade. I've seen films from the 1890s.
Yes.
I mean, I don't care.
Yes, this is what we do. We put them on the block, man. We see what's going on, no matter what year it's from. And I love doing this, and if I brought up Fellini like in a conversation trying to sound cool, I would look not cool real quick because I've only seen 4. I would be like, La Dolce Vita. I haven't seen that one, but I've heard it's pretty good. It's not something it's not a guy, not yet in the way when I'm talking to people, he's not a guy I would just bring up because I don't have a lot to back it. I'm working on it. I'm open. For the most part, I like all of these 4 that I've seen. They're, again, 8.5 is my favorite of the 4, but I like all 4.
Right on. And that's great. I'm not going to kill this podcast and immediately end my friendship with you because you are a Fellini fan. That's great. All the more power to you.
Well, yeah, because last week we did in Bruges, so I'm throwing you a bone every time.
Yeah, I get mine. Okay, I get mine.
yeah. Of course, I love that one too. That was a total blast. And then the week before that, we both just didn't really dig Chariots of Fire.
Yeah, exactly. It's an ongoing, partner thing here we got going where every film is, going to relate to either, me or you or both of us or none of us. I mean, we don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, good stuff, man. Well, the last one we'll talk about before we go in depth on La Strada is another one I think you. This is the other one that you dislike these later too. Like you said, when he becomes total full on art house director, it'd be Amarcord from 1973, which competed, of course, a couple years later. I watched this whenever we did the Chinatown episode when we were talking about some 1974 films. Amarcord competed at that ceremony. That's when I watched A Woman Under the Influence, for the first time. I was like, I'm going to dig into this year. And that's what I love about this show. That's what I love about doing this shit, is diving into something specific. And I like this one. It's supposed to be definitely autobiographical and stream of conscious stuff. Definitely 8.5 and Amarcord were ones that I saw where I was like, I definitely thought about, I wonder where Lynch saw this, where David Lynch was. What does he think about these? There's just no doubt in my mind that Twin Peaks, when he's doing Twin Peaks, he's thinking of these influences, and of course that's just like piques my interest as a fan, and you see these things kind of fold over themselves in movie history, and I saw that in these later two movies. I was like, damn, there's definitely people who like this shit, like movie people that are creative and are like, yeah, because with 8.5, it's like, I mean, what director wouldn't watch that and be like, oh yeah, I've had some of those thoughts before, where they're just kind of like, I'm just battling, I don't even know what, I'm just like, what is movie making? What am I even doing here? And I love those thoughts. And with Amarcord, kind of going to a specific time and place, like in like Boyhood, is just like super fucking fascinating. And the pace is fucking odd, and I think that's where it kind of loses you. I'll let you take it away with Amarcord. Yeah.
Amarcord, yeah, it's all over the place. We don't really have anyone to focus on or like relate to in this town. And I felt a lot of potential in this the story. I thought that the whole focusing on the fascist movement of Mussolini was great. I would have loved to have seen more of that. Like some rebellious kids, refusing to be fascists. I would have watched the hell out of that movie. But it bounces to so many different places, and it just we don't linger long enough to connect to anything. And by the time the giant lady was wrapping her tits around that teenager, I was just kind of like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, that was nutty. It's pretty funny. It's a pretty funny movie. These people on the coast, like the coast town, that are just silly. These silly ass people who have they just have no idea what's around them. The world around them. They're just so naive to what's happening outside.
I think that Fellini, he did so many autobiographical films, and I don't know. I don't find his Boyhood life all that interesting. I'm sorry, but I think it, when I heard him say 8.5 was one of the greatest films ever made, that he made, I immediately lost a lot of, respect. I'm like, who says that? You've never heard Stephen King say The Shining is the greatest horror novel ever written. Like, who does that? That's incredibly pretentious and arrogant. I don't care who you are. So
yeah, totally different to say this is the best thing I have made, but this is just one of the best thing. Yeah.
Fuck you.
Total douche. Amarcord was nominated for Best Director and Best Screenplay, and then of course got the foreign language film win. Those are kind of his 4 big Oscar movies now. I mentioned La Dolce Vita. Do you want to see that one? Do you just want to kind of cross it off?
Yeah.
Where are you at in that one?
I am not canceling out Fellini. Exactly like I'm not canceling out Cassavetes. What I've seen I haven't liked, but the journey's not over.
Yeah, I like that. I think because of your reaction to La Strada, it just kind of opens the door just a little bit.
Exactly. Plus,
you know what I'm saying?
My uncle has a poster of La Dolce Vita that I've seen my entire life, so I want to know what the hell this movie is.
Oh, there you go. That's awesome. Before we get into some La Strada stuff, let's say be real quick. Let's go over these 12 nominations that Fellini has gotten. What's up?
Before we go into that, so 4 of his films have won Best Foreign Film, but he himself has never actually won an Oscar.
Correct.
It's kind of so. Who won the Oscars for? Was that the producers?
Yeah. It's frustrating, right? Yeah. No, he's if you go on IMDb and you see it, it'll say 12 nominations.
Yeah.
And then if you go to each of these movies, it'll say one win. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, them's a break.
No, it happens a lot. You got to click on all kinds of different things sometimes. I've learned just random shit. Just the other day, I'm sure I learned something through IMDb, just kind of flipping through stuff. But the man here, his Oscar nominations go back before the Best Foreign Language Film category was a thing.
Yeah,
and that's we've brought up Akira Kurosawa. When we did Rashomon, and he's a guy who got some honorary awards and then went on to compete in the foreign language film category. Definitely a name that's comparable to Fellini as far as his influence on the American films, like how and just what people talk about and what they think is classical and good when it comes to foreign stuff. And of course the Oscars have a lot to do with that.
Yeah, I bet this category exists because of Federico Fellini and Akira Kurosawa. I think they're the 2 most influential foreign directors prior to 1960.
Yeah, that's
in my opinion. From what I've seen, from what I personally have seen them.
I don't think there's really an argument, but that's a fascinating discussion, to just kind of people, pre-1960. I think those 2 guys, especially for where we are here in the United States, massive, just massive influence. Yeah. I love that. Fellini, 1947 is nominated for Roma Città Aperta, movie I have not seen, nominated for the screenplay. 1950, nominated for Pesa, also screenplay. And then that gets us to where we are at today, La Strada, 1954, of course, nominated for screenplay. And then just keeps going. I Vitellini, he's nominated again for screenplay. La Dolce Vita, again for screenplay and director. Of course, 8.5, which we talked about, screenplay and director. What else do we got? Amarcord. Oh, Satiricon, also nominated for Best Director. We got Amarcord, Best Director and Best Screenplay. We got Il Casanova di Federico Fellini, Best Screenplay. And then he won an honorary award in 1993. So there's that, but he was, that's I think that's the year he passed away. So, that's probably why. 12 for the guy for directing and nominating. And of course, a lot of times for the same movie. What of these do you want to see that you haven't seen? If I'll put it that way.
Okay. I have heard quite a lot from my own family about Satyricon.
Yes, Satyricon definitely jumps out to me. That's okay, cool. I like that. I like that. Gets a one-time nomination for Best Director. I would love to dig into that one.
And then considering that I've kind of realized that his best work is probably before 8.5. Definitely Roma Città Aperta and Paisa and I Vitelloni.
Yeah, I Vitelloni, definitely 1953. Definitely want to check that out. That didn't compete until 1958.
Why? Why did they do that?
Don't know. Yeah, so weird. It'd get really confusing. Yeah, Pesa from 1946 didn't compete until 1950. I don't know. A lot of it's 2, 3, 4 years in between. I don't know. Can you imagine if like Parasite didn't compete until 2023?
I'd very much like to see Roma Città Aperta probably the most, because this is an Italian film made at the end of World War II.
There you go.
I'm very curious about that.
I like that. Yeah, man. yeah, I'm kind of willing to dig in because I'm in a different place right now as a Fellini fan.
And
Yeah,
and it's about the Nazi occupation of Rome. Holy shit!
yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna watch that.
There's 13 of his films on Criterion right now as we speak, and then there's also a branch of that is the Fellini Messina collection with him and his wife. You know, the movies that they worked on together, and of course, La Strada is one of them.
Yes, indeed.
Let's talk about La Strada.
Okay.
Let's do that. You know, let's just go ahead and pull up. You know, just for this is what we were talking about earlier for just kind of representation and for nomination shout out sake. Let's shout out the other movies that were up for best foreign language film.
Okay.
Because this is a new category as of this year, and so you got 5 movies. You know, it's typically what the category is, right? And still is today. The other 4, sorry if I pronounce them incorrectly. We have Kvitovik from Denmark, Gervais from France, The Captain from Kaepernick from Germany, the Bernice Harp from Japan, and then of course La Strada, the winner. I haven't really heard of either of those, you know, any of those other films. So what say you?
Nope, nothing. Completely. Again,
I'd watch all of them though.
I've only really started paying attention to foreign film in the past 10 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely for me as well. I can't really pinpoint a single movie where I was like, oh, that's the first foreign movie that I saw or something like that. I just remember there was kind of a wave where I was like, oh, what do we have here? You know? And then of course, meeting you kind of nudged me in a whole new direction of, okay, no, I really want to do this. And then this show, Oscar Sunday. And of course, if you're, you know, on Criterion Channel or HBO Max, you just have an influx of awesome movies, old movies, foreign movies that you can just kind of dive into. And with all of that stuff at my access, I just have the past, you know, 2-3 years has just been just fucking bring it on, you know?
The first foreign film I ever saw, I can remember because I had kind of a wave too. My dad was very much into kung fu movies. So I first really took the plunge into Asian cinema when I was a kid with Ong Bak, the Thai Warrior.
Nice.
Which is still one of the most badass martial arts films I've ever seen. And then from there, I watched, you know, City Hunter with Jackie Chan, Enter the Dragon, which I think
that might be my first one. God, Enter the Dragon. Jesus.
Hard Boiled, Kung Fu Hustle. So I had kind of a, you know, steady drip.
Yeah.
As far as European film goes, I don't really know. I think it might have been film class in college that I think it was Breathless.
That's hilarious.
Was not a great place to start.
You're like, oh, French cinema bastards. Yeah, that's hilarious. That's really funny. Breathless is I like it. I like the pace of it, but I definitely understand. Godard, like again, is just like Fellini with the. It's just there's a lot that comes with the name, a lot that comes with it, and that comes with that mainly is heavy expectations because when you just get raved about, and your movies have amazing scores and get put in the top 10 lists, like then fucking bring it. And if it doesn't do it for you, that sucks. You know, it's always a letdown.
I don't ever feel superior because I don't like these movies. If anything, I feel let down because I wanted to be a part of that conversation. I wanted to like these films, but I just don't. And that sucks.
Yeah. You have to be honest with yourself. Yeah. That's what it's ultimately about. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. We got these really interesting movies that now I have in my radar from this foreign language film category. And if you could pick one, I love doing this game, obviously, did it earlier. If you could pick one from this group, these other 4, just off of not knowing anything, what would you go with?
I am a sucker for Japanese cinema, so I would probably go the Burmese Harp.
Okay, let's see. Burmese Harp is a drama film directed by Kon Ichikawa based on a children's novel of the same name. It tells the story of Japanese soldiers who fought in the Burma campaign during World War II. Oh, there you go. That's right up your alley. I think I think I recently watched another round Danish movie. I think I'm going to stick with the Danish action. I don't know how to say this, but I'm going to go Kvivatok. I would be my guess. It's a Danish drama film directed by Eric Balling and starring Paul Reichardt and Astrid Villum. The movie was filmed entirely on location in Greenland. Nice. It was nominated for both Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film and for the Palme d'Or. All right. Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah.
I love going to random ass from anywhere from the in the 20s to 40s as far as Academy Awards go, 29th Academy Awards for this case, and just looking at random ass movies that I've just never heard of.
That's almost like 80% of what this show is.
Hell yeah, it's a blast. Just a movie that I really want to do on the show soon is Paul Schrader's Affliction from 1998, and Nick Nolte, and it's like it just came on HBO Max, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, I know things are. Yeah. I'm looking at. There's so many movies I'm interested in to do for the show that just kind of pop out at me when I'm looking over ceremonies, and that was one of them. And then I just randomly see that it's on this streaming service right here in my living room. We're gonna do it soon.
That's where Coburn got his Oscar. That's been on my radar for years.
Yeah, Yeah, I think it was nominated for just 2 Oscars, and I was like, "Oh, that's a sweet spot." I got a lot to say about Paul Schrader. The guy deserves so much acclaim. He's amazing. That's like you said. It's like a huge part of the show. 80% of the show is just kind of diving in and finding random things to talk about and watch. That's what we're doing here. And La Strada is a first timer for both of us. I'm really glad that this is the one that we both like, so that we can both give awards out to it. Because I'm keen on figuring out what you picked. Because when you do the foreign movies and you're picking awards for it, different stuff comes into play, man. You're really paying attention to these actors and their delivery, because you're really watching the way they move and reading the subtitles at the same time, and just really focused. And I'll admit when I'm watching some American movies or English speaking movies, sometimes I'll just get kind of lost in the stars, and lost in Leonardo DiCaprio's eyes, just fucking just fucking distracted, just biased, sometimes. And I do that all the time with the people I love in movies.
It's exactly what happened to me with La Strada with Anthony Quinn. Because
that's hilarious. He's on a different level in this. Holy hell.
I do want to talk about the screenplay noms.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. I had a whole nother, yeah, of course, before we get to our shit. Yeah. Get to its real shit.
Interesting bunch of films here. We've got La Strada by Federico Fellini and Tullio Pinelli. Mm-hmm. The Lady Killers by William Rose. Julie by Andrew L. Stone. The Bold and the Brave by Robert Lewin. And the winner, The Red Balloon by Albert Lamorisse. And The Red Balloon is a French film.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I was like, wait a minute.
So, not only that, but a 35-minute short French film directed by the guy written by the guy who invented Risk. I sent an episode in the future because that's a lot of interesting things there.
The Red Balloon, is a 1956 French fantasy comedy drama featurette. 35 minutes short. Huh. This is the first time I'm really seeing anything about this, obviously. This is fascinating. I definitely we've been to this show a couple of times. I think maybe we've mentioned that James Dean had a posthumous nomination here. We've of course talked about Ingrid Bergman winning in this at this ceremony, but I have not come across this Red Balloon action before. I've not seen this. I would love to do an episode based around that, because it's only 35 minutes. That is bizarre. How do we're gonna have to pick awards for something that's only 35 minutes. I would love to do that. That'd be so difficult.
This is such an anomaly. Short films do not get that kind of love ever. Like this is weird. This is like, baby born with third leg weird.
Yeah, I've read somewhere that there's a rule that a feature has to be over like 40 minutes now or something to be. I can't remember where I read that. I can't remember what year it was that they changed that. But I don't think you could. I don't think you've always been able to do this, to have
I
a
bet.
35-minute. I think it's over 40, which is so silly. But I guess that's kind of like where people decide, okay, I'm not doing a short. I'm doing a full movie anyways. I don't know. That is crazy. Definitely want to do that on the show.
For sure. And then, The Lady Killers is one I've always wanted to see. I'm a fan of the Coen Brothers remake, but I've never seen the original.
Neither have I. British black comedy film, of course, by Alexander McKendrick. Yeah, I definitely want to see that one as well. It's a movie that was remade damn near 50 whole years, so afterwards, I would love to see that too.
Yeah. And then Bold and the Brave and Julie, I know nothing about, but I looked into it, and I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, you never know. My top pick is Red Balloon. I'm very, very interested in this.
Yeah, it's such an oddball that I feel like we have to talk about it eventually.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up see if it's on anything whenever we're done here. See if I can find it. No, it's 35 minutes, so I'll watch it sometime soon for sure.
Yeah. I'd bet I'd bet money it's probably on YouTube.
Yeah, or that is definitely a thing Criterion would add, some random ass French short. That's yeah.
An Oscar-winning 35-minute French short with children and balloons. That's exactly what I think of when I think of the word Criterion.
Yeah. I mean, I think of French for sure. French is one of the first things I think of when I hear Criterion Collection. French documentary, 30 to 40 minutes. Yeah.
I think either like 30 minutes or 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
There's no middle ground. It's either super short and concise or long as fuck and is going to take you 6 days.
Yeah. I love it. That's great. I was just looking on the website last night. I had an itch. I kind of want to get a couple more. I just got that big haul in, and my favorite one of those is definitely the Minding the Gap one, because that is such an interesting choice for them. Right? Is this this super gritty American documentary based around some skaters, and so that was quite cool that it got selected not too long ago, and then right when it came out, I was like, yeah, I gotta make sure I get one of these.
You can get the Irishman Criterion Collection at HEB.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
I would rather get. There's other Netflix movies I would way rather get, right? Roma or Marriage Story. Those both have their own Criterion. Yeah, I'd get those first. Irishman, not for me. It's good, it's fine, but I wouldn't pay extra to get it on Criterion, unless I were one of those people who's trying to collect just a shit ton of Criterions, which I'm not. I'm just very selective, and I want to get stuff that I know I'm kind of gonna use for the show, or I'm gonna or that I already do like.
You don't want to own all the spines.
No, that's far too much work. Plus, with the streaming service, this is really lazy, but with all the streaming services, with Criterion Channel able to just file things in and out over and over and over every single month, and I'll never run out of Criterion selected stuff to watch.
Yeah. I don't go in for the Criterion Blu-rays. It's too pricey for me. And
yeah, I do the DVDs, man, because on sale, all of those, I got 6 of them. They were all $15 still on sale. So they were $30 originally. Yeah.
That's great. See, I just bought a Blu-ray of I Am Legend for $5 at a gas station.
That's my shit. That's definitely my shit. But you know me, man. I there's specific movies that I really, really dig and really want to do on this show. Yeah. And I basically bought all of those for this show. And Minding the Gap is one that we could definitely do on the show one day. I don't know how we would do the PSH for a documentary because it's real. I don't know.
We might have to just nix that award and do the other 4.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, that's right. We could just kind of do something else, or just kind of alter the award a little bit. Like maybe it's the most interesting person in the documentary, or best interviewee. The people that give the best kind of interviews. I love those kind of people in documentaries. So yeah, we'll figure that out. But yeah, that's what I'm always trying to do when I'm kind of buying the Criterion stuff. Is like I want to be able to kind of use this and let you borrow it, and you know what I mean, kind of share it.
I think it's wild that the Criterion channel doesn't have every film that's been selected into the Criterion collection. Like I assumed they would, but they don't.
Yeah, they don't. They change them out, which is cool with me because I mean, I think it would be cool if they had everything, of course, like if they just had every single proper Criterion selected movie on there. That'd be, just super convenient. I think it is interesting that they kind of rotate them because then they shine a light on other stuff that isn't, Criterion selected. It's just on their channel, like those Jane Fonda films that I was watching. I just watched a slew of movies that have Jane Fonda in them. Those aren't necessarily, Criterion selected, but they're just up there and they're just kind of sharing them, streaming them, and I love that they have those options where it's not just like, oh, look at us, look at what we're doing, come watch our movies. It's also like, look at this. Here's Yorgos Lanthimos' first 3 movies. Here's a guy who's hot right now, who's like doing really well in the movie industry. Here's his stuff, Here's Barry Jenkins. Here's Bill Hader. Here's Alfonso Cuarón talking about what movies they like. That's kind of what I'm a sucker for, is that stuff, that kind of extra juice that it gives you.
Well, I think they should have that too. Celebrate, people's love of film, but also like in the back have, the Criterion Collection 1 to like 582 or wherever they are.
Yeah, that would be beautiful. Yeah, if it was literally at the bottom of the app, if it was just literally like the library, the Criterion library. That I agree with you. That would be so convenient and so beautiful to scroll through because you could see how they're ordered, how they were selected, not how they line up chronologically, but how they selected them. I love that. I love that thought.
The perfectionist in me wants to just line them all up and be like, ooh.
Yeah. Damn. Perfect. And you're like, that one's good. That one sucks. That one's good. Yeah. Never heard of it. Okay. Just passing that one. Yeah. Yeah. It's good, clean fun. I think you can get caught up in thinking that this goes along with the Oscars and Criterion and any kind of conversation like this, where you think that a certain group's opinion of this is important or anything. That's not the case for you and I. We like that a group of people who give a shit about movies are like, hey, check this out. That's kind of cool. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not? If I have time, I'll check it out, see what's going on. I love to be a part of that movie conversation. And the Criterion just kind of does that for me as a fan. I just kind of have been able to open doors to all kinds of different shit, and then I can get on Letterboxd or, get online and read stuff that I'm like, oh yeah, fuck. I thought those same things, and kind of connect on a different level that you had no idea you could go to. And that's like the best thing about being able to put specific movies on the table. Like we are here, you and I, we narrowed it down to 4 movies for Fellini. His 4 movies that won the best foreign language film. And that's how we're focusing on it. I think that's like a really good way to kind of discuss film, is just focus in on one thing. And I think that these things that you and I kind of appreciate about Criterion, about the Oscars, I think those are the things that we appreciate, or just kind of the context it gives them, gives the movies. That's cool.
I think what'll be really, really cool is when we do inevitably revisit Fellini, do La Dolce Vita or whatever. It'll be really cool to see where you and I are at that point in regards to what we've seen and how much we've experienced and where the conversation evolves.
Yeah, exactly. And in turn, these guys that we're learning about for the first time, and then kind of deepening our knowledge of them as we do other episodes, we're also kind of challenging ourselves with people we love.
Yeah,
and that's way harder. That's honestly way harder, because when you are forced to just kind of say exactly what you like about something or what you dislike about something, it makes you look yourself in the mirror. And what the very first episode we did, what is Pulp Fiction to me? Am I just one of those bros? No, this is why I like it. These cuts, these performances, these edits, these needle drops. This is why I love this movie. Figuring those things out, it can be kind of scary, but it's also just fun as hell.
Yeah, I mean, we've had to, defend Chinatown, a film made by a known rapist, and kind of acknowledge, why does this film still matter? Why are we still, why do we still love Chinatown but despise Roman Polanski? Answering those questions is difficult, but it's challenging in a good way. And I love that.
Yeah, it's rewarding, well, mentally for sure. Just kind of going through it and just speaking about it. And with Fellini, we've obviously kind of gotten to a few interesting places. Just the broader picture of like what we think of. What does his name mean? What does it mean when a director's name is so big? And just kind of philosophizing about what our fandom is and what we kind of think about this stuff. And I like doing that, man. And I'm glad we looked at those screenplay nominations, and it always opens up new doors when you just kind of look at something and talk about something. And again, before we get into our awards, Anthony Quinn did win Best Supporting Actor at this ceremony, and I know he's a guy you're kind of a sucker for, a guy from this era that you really like.
He's a dude, had a presence. Anthony Quinn was a strong character actor, and I have not seen a lot of his work. I think I've only seen like one or two, but for the guy who have made such an impact on my mind for just one or two films, like, that's fucking awesome. I think the first time I saw him was Lawrence of Arabia, and holy shit, man. Yeah, he's just one of those guys who you believe could beat the shit out of anybody. He just has that like powerful guy presence with the heart and soul of an artist. It really is an awesome union. And he's a guy I totally want to explore further.
Yeah. A Mexican American just artist, basically. From what I've read about him, he kind of just did a bunch of different shit. Kind of put his hand in different things. And I definitely I echo that. I want to further my knowledge about Anthony Quinn, and he's so goddamn good in this movie. We've got our 4 awards here that have kind of stuck their ground, man. These awards have been kind of the staple, the kind of the ending of our show for a while now. Yeah. And I'm really excited to get into these. We got the Tarantino for best quote or best line. We got the Ennio Morricone Award for best music moment. We have the Philip Seymour Hoffman Award for best performance of the movie, and the Roger Deakins for the best scene or best moment of the movie. So I'll let you take it away first with your Tarantino. This is a script written by Fellini himself, and definitely is going for a lot of comedy, and then kind of punching you right in the gut at times. I definitely appreciated it. What do you got?
My Tarantino comes shortly after Zampano has been arrested for attempted murder, and Gelsomina has been asked by the circus troupe if she'd like to go with them, and she's torn. She doesn't know if she should leave Zampano or stay with him. And the fool kind of gives her a little bit of a pep talk and picks up a pebble and says, "No, I don't know what this pebble's purpose is, but it must have one. Because if this pebble has no purpose, then everything is pointless. Even the stars. At least I think so. And you too. You have a purpose too." And in that line, he kind of convinces her to stay with this monster. And I just, that line resonated with me because in the end, she ultimately did not have a purpose. Her life was cut short by loneliness, and it really amounted to nothing. So in retrospect, it really, this line really hurts knowing where she's going. And that's why I chose that.
Yeah. Excellent moment in the movie. And the commitment to these characters not just being stereotypes, but being kind of fleshed out, like raw, proper characters, that are, their emotions are so evident, and I really like the scenes between Yelsamina and the Fool. Just, man, there's some really interesting stuff said there. I love that. I love that shout out. I definitely thought about that one. Definitely makes you think. Yeah, it makes you think once you've seen it, and kind of know, the foreshadowing. Yeah, oh man, tough stuff. I also chose I chose a bit of dialogue between Giulietta Messina's character Yelsamina and the widow. Them two, they're talking. It's a little later in the film. Pretty simple discussion, but there's just a piece that jumped out to me. Made me laugh, but also gave me chills. And that's one of my favorite things about screenplays. One of my favorite things about movie writing. It's not intended to sound the exact same as how we talk in real life. Sometimes it's supposed to be just kind of built up just a little bit, has a little bit of that extra juice, for the screen. And I think Fellini does that sometimes, like really effectively. And right here, it's the widow says, "For 3 nights I've been up at 1 a.m. to cook. Think I'm tired? If I felt like it, I could go dance all night long. Us older women, we're better than the younger girls." Oh man, I love that because it's one of those lines that I've given my Tarantino to lines like this before, where it kind of snaps me out maybe of a certain kind of like fatigue I have in the movie, where I'm just kind of like, damn, like what the fuck's, and it just gives this kind of magic, this kind of salt that I just needed at the time as a fan watching the movie, and a line that just kind of stuck with me after I read it. I thought that was hilarious, and her delivery was beautiful.
Well, with movie making, it's not just about the words, it's about how the words are said. And tone is, in many cases, everything. And yeah, I remember that scene. Great moment. Really good job.
Yeah, I thought she's just, it's just a good timing in the movie. I thought it was necessary. Yeah. This is a pretty tight, strong script. I liked a lot. I liked the screenplay quite a bit. I think it's just differs so much from the stream of conscious stuff that comes later in his career. It's way different.
Yeah, I don't know why he, I wish he'd committed to this kind of storytelling, because it really is, it drew me in. With Amarcord and 8.5, I was out within 10 minutes. With this movie, I was drawn in. I'm like, well, who is she? Like, why, are they going to be all right? Like, where is this going? I wanted to know more.
Are they going to be all right? That's what you always want. Yeah.
A family sells their daughter to some circus dude for 10,000 lira, and
Jesus
just tells her, all right, get in the cart. And then he just beats her. Like, what the fuck? This is terrible. This is tragic. And then her smile the whole time of like, hey, maybe life's going to work out. No, it's not.
No.
Yeah, this was a blow to the gut, man.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's like, this is like an old school, got that kind of black humor, just kind of like real dark, kind of like, what the hell? Is this supposed to be funny? Am I supposed to be crying? What's going on here? There's aggression, but there's also these people pulling jokes and being silly, and Zampano, telephone. What's going on here? It's just fascinating stuff. I love a good genre bender.
Oh yeah, me too, man. It's I don't know what I feel like I've seen movies influenced by this in one way or another. Nothing comes to mind, but I felt similar to the way I felt with other films when I watched this. I can't off the top of my head name some of these movies, but I know I've something came from this. I know that.
Oh man, don't you love that? But also kind of hate it because you're like, I want to know what it is.
I want to pinpoint.
Yeah. Definitely. I felt that time and time again. Now, I think I just went through this not too long ago where it was kind of this like, whoa, kind of warping, just crazy moment in my movie mind where things all just kind of connected, completely made sense. And that's when we both got to watch on episode 40, we both got to watch not just Chariots of Fire, but the other nominations, and that would be Atlantic City. And when I could connect Atlantic City and Albert Gantry and see my favorite modern filmmaker who was so clearly influenced by those two movies, it's super rewarding. And I can't really express how grateful I am for those moments when those happen, when you see something that's glaringly obvious in your movie mind. I've seen something like this before, whether it be before it or after it. I've seen something. and that's one of the best feelings. I think La Strada like reeks of that. Where you feel it. You feel the stuff Anthony Quinn is doing. You're like, haven't I seen the other guys do that like recently? Are people copying some of those motions, some of that, the body language, and Juliette Messina is like, how could a comedic mind who wants to be in a serious movie not look up to her?
Yeah.
Her facial expressions and her kind of naivety in certain moments is some of the best timing I've ever seen. And for La Strada and Nights of Cabiria, she carries these two movies, and carries them on her back at times. I think in La Strada, you have the help of Anthony Quinn, who's just giving a lights out performance, but she is really just carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders in both of these movies, La Strada and Nights of Cabiria. And I really admire her for that,
You know what I saw? You know what it was? It's Happy Go Lucky. That's what I saw in her performance. Sally Hawkins totally drew from this just unchecked optimism that everything's going to be fine and I should be nice to everybody, but also just to have that come flying back in your face. It's yes. All right.
Beautiful. Yeah. Isn't that great? Yeah. Isn't that great and why do we watch that movie? Because of this damn show.
Yes, exactly.
I would have never watched Happy Go Lucky, written and directed by Mike Leigh from 2008, which competed against In Bruges in the best screenplay category. I wouldn't have watched that without having a specific reason, really. I would have watched something else or chosen something else. I just would have passed. I
didn't bring this up last week because I forgot, but I remember back when I lived in Maryland, we had Netflix through the mail, and somebody in the family got Happy Go Lucky. And I remember being asked if I wanted to watch it. And I remember saying, no, that sounds terrible. Because I didn't know. I was a stupid child. I didn't know. I mean, in the end, I was, I won't say I was right, but it was, I wouldn't have known. I find that funny that like I recognized the movie and then, 10 years later, I'm like, all right, let's watch that for a podcast.
That's fantastic. I love that. Yeah, that's definitely, I relate. Oh man. The Ennio Morricone. This is always fun. Picking out stuff we like about each film each week that has to do with music. In La Strada's case, we have a pretty, there's a pretty wide range here of sounds in this particular score. Right now, I'm trying to find the composer's name. I think it's Volta. I don't know how to say it. Rota. Yeah. And I like the music a lot, and I had a pretty easy time choosing mine, and that was the arrival of Zampano, Arrivato Zampano, and it's just a kind of banger type song. It's only a minute and a half long. I immediately put it onto a playlist on Spotify because I just was kind of taken aback by it. And then of course the arrival of Zampano, and you have Anthony Quinn just coming in and he's, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a weak stomach, I suggest you look away. This piece of cloth is not, because I'm weak. It's because I don't want you to see blood. I love that so much. And that song is just like perfect. I love it.
What a fool. Just
Yeah. Lungs of steel. Yeah.
God. My Morricone is pretty recurrent. It's that bit of violin music that is constantly kind of playing throughout the movie. It's the film's theme, but I picked a specific moment, and it's the end of the film when Zampano's sobbing on the beach for what he's done, and the music swells, and it's like, haunting him. It's her haunting him because he knows it's his fault. It's all his fault. And the whole movie is him kind of realizing that he's a bad person and that he got essentially two people killed. He murdered the fool, but he got her killed too. And actually, now that I'm realizing it, her purpose was to make him feel.
Isn't that sad?
Whew. That's ouch. Damn.
That's how shitty like the male species is, that they need like a reminder that you should be a good person. Yeah.
Yeah, that's completely fucked up. That this ape who bought a woman from a poor family so that she could hold his cloak while he does fake, circus tricks. He needed help realizing he was a bastard. Oh
man.
So yeah, that's my Morricone.
I love it. I love it, man. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's something that's gonna kind of just play in my ear.
I'd also like to point out that Nino Rota is mostly famous for composing the theme to The Godfather.
There you go. Working not just in Italian cinema, but American Italian cinema.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Fantastic movies. The Godfather 1 and 2, and he's definitely a big part of it. We love shouting those guys out. Very important members to the game. And when it comes to the Ennio Morricone Award, we're just going to kind of bring those guys up. So I love that we have that part of the show, and this score is really good. If I were given the score, it would be solid. It's a good piece, and I think the Fellini films, sometimes you can get kind of lost in which one's which. Yeah. But with La Strada, it just kind of popped for me.
Very clear what this movie is and what it's about. And I think the fact that I went in thinking, here's a third time's a charm, hopefully. I didn't expect to fall in love, It's one of those situations where like, oh my God, this is great. And I was very happy to have that.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, man. I love it. Well, I'm very interested about this award every week. the Philip Seymour Hoffman. Who'd you pick for this one? I think it's down to two people, yeah? Or do you think the Fool is also someone who's up for debate?
He could. If there was a third guy on this, I would bet, maybe he's gonna pick him. But I don't know. I think it's very clear who we're both going for here. So Anthony Quinn was astonishing in this film as such a scumbag piece of shit who eventually learns, hey, maybe it's not a good idea to be a scumbag piece of shit to everybody I encounter. Maybe I let this girl die because of my own pride. But Giulietta Messina is this movie, and she's who I chose.
Same, 100% through and through. I believe she is the X factor in this movie, and when she's reacting to things, and for example, I think the famous scene of her behind the Fool while he's playing, and he's trying to teach her how to do that kind of comedy, that little comedy bit for the circus. She is putting on a fucking clinic in that scene. And to this day, there's people who don't quite understand how to, I would never know how to, but there's people who don't understand how to do what she's doing. It's fucking beyond me. And I didn't know that by going into Fellini that I was going to be more interested in his wife's career, more interested in finding out about what she had going on in other movies, and I'm gonna go out of my way more to watch Messina movies than I am Fellini movies.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out of my way to watch Nights of Cabiria at some time, simply because
Yeah,
I want to see more of her.
she's great.
She was fantastic, and she reminded me of the women who worked with Charlie Chaplin. There's a specific Virginia Cheryl from City Lights. Echoes of her in this performance. She just had this comedic foil presence about her with a hint of extreme sadness, and you understood where both sides of that came from. My favorite scene of my favorite bit about the scene where she's playing the trumpet, or, well, the trombone, really. I don't know why they called it the trumpet, but behind the fool, and she screws up, and he goes ape shit. you with that, you get the vibe that he's no different. He's Zampano too. There's no escaping. Like, even if she'd gone with him, she would have been miserable the same. There was no road to happiness for this woman.
Mm-hmm.
She did not deserve that. She was so pure and innocent the whole time. She should have stayed in the convent. She should have run with the circus. She had so many outs, and she was so loyal that she didn't take them. And then how does he repay that loyalty? He fucks off. Like, oh, this movie pissed me off in a good way.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean, man. It's like, and how unforgiving it is at the end. You know,
Yeah.
that it doesn't allow you to be like, oh, it's okay. Zampano came back. No. He made one too many fucking mistakes.
Yes.
Fucked over one too many people, and now you have to deal with that. And now you gotta live with that shit and swim in it, you know, and just deal, you know, and living with that for the rest of his life is something that is either going to break him or change him. And that's such a fascinating thing to do in a movie, is to put a man who is one thing throughout the movie, and by the end of it, something brutal has happened. He's either changed or broken. And when the credits roll, you don't know which one. And that's like one of the coolest things you can do in movies. It's happened over and over again. And with La Strada, I was just struck by that. And it's because it's mainly because of Messina's, like you said, that kind of, you kind of are cheering for her, rooting for her. It's because you feel so strongly about her and her, you know, her passing, that you're kind of angry with this guy. You're kind of sick of him, just disgusted by him. And you're like, get your ass out of here.
Yeah, it's you know, he literally leaves innocence out to die. I mean, how do you do that and live with yourself as a human being? You don't. And I think if this movie had been, you know, 20 minutes longer, I feel like he would have just walked into the sea and not come back. I would have done it a little differently, though. I love the scene where he just collapses into tears on the beach, but I would have had that happen a little earlier. I would have had him find out about Gelsomino's death, then do the trick with the chain, but be unable to break it because he just collapses into tears. He tries to break the chain, and then he just, you know, he's trying, and then you just see his face kind of crumble, and he like realizes what he's done, and he just collapses into a fit right there, and the chain never breaks.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I was expecting that, but, you know, I'm not going to say, you know, I can correct Fellini's work. I'm not saying that, but that would have been neat.
Yeah, man. I love it. Yeah. I figure we were both going to be pretty inspired by Messina and her role as Gelsomina in this movie. And yeah, that's definitely what happened. We both gave her the PSH. What do you got for your Deacons? The best scene of the movie. What do you got?
Simply because it was so unforgiving, and I can't believe he did this. It is when Zampano leaves Gelsomina and takes off. And because it's interesting that we decide to then go to Zampano's point of view. We don't get to see her, you know, live out the rest of her life in almost exile. We get to see him having moved past it. It's been 5 years, and he's, you know, smarted up his suit. He's, you know, still in the business, almost completely forgotten about her until he hears that song. And he's like, wait a minute. Just he left her the trumpet.
Yeah.
That showed like he did care a little bit. It was in
Oh
there.
yeah.
Leaving her the trumpet meant on some level, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, well, she like the main thing that I took away, other than this just being like a pretty solid and entertaining movie, was his character going through the act of learning what it's like to remember something, to build a memory. And clearly this guy is someone who just acts off instinct and moves forward, does not want to talk about anything, does not want to talk about his past, does not want to talk about anything other than let's move forward. What's to drink? What's to smoke? What are we doing? What's the next show? How can I make money? What's the next town? And so when he does that, and you're like, ah, this fucker, and like he said, leaves her, and all those years pass. When that's the first time we see him kind of it's something that's happening other than what he's doing is actually affecting him. He's not being so goddamn self-absorbed in this moment that he's hearing something from the outside, because there's no song in any bar that they're in. There's nothing that happens around him that reminds him of anything. The whole movie, he's just fucking tunnel vision, selfish as shit. How can I get through the next day? And I'll just use people along the way. But in that moment, for whatever it was about this woman in his life, for that, about Yeltsinina in his time, in his life for that time, he just remembered from a song. And that is exactly pointing out what you're saying is that shows like legitimate care. The movie has sincere patience about it. And this character doesn't change until it just fucking whacks us in the face. And it's great timing.
The trumpet is Zampano's soul.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And the fool brings up the idea that Zampano might be in love with her. And she rolls with that, thinking, this is a man who's never been shown love, so he doesn't know how to express it.
Mm.
And there is, I think there's some truth to that. I think, he's clearly a cold, cold man. And she brings a warmth that he's never known or understood before. And on some level, he's attached to that, but on another much stronger level, he is terrified of that. He's a man who's very clearly afraid of change. And that comes through when he leaves her. Like, he can't handle this. But leaving the trumpet means that he wants her to be okay, but not with him.
Man. So tough, dude.
I was not prepared for this.
Oh man, I love it. Yeah, that was one of my choices, was that moment that you pointed out for my Deacons, but I ultimately went with the exact moment when Zampano snaps and kills the fool, and I'm going to point out my guy again. I thought about Daniel Plainview for sure. When I was watching this, I'm obviously a sucker for PTA, but I was just like, holy shit, just kind of forceful, kind of accidental, not really though.
At least second degree.
Yeah. Yeah. Just kind of shocking brutality, and Anthony Quinn, we know Zampano's capable of just destroying somebody, especially in this movie. Whether or not Anthony Quinn is giant doesn't really matter, because Fellini chooses a bunch of other actors who are tiny.
Yeah.
And so it's a genius decision. And apparently this film was not easy to film and make. And there's a lot of stuff going on set. And I just wonder about a guy who's that menacing and that huge.
Anthony Quinn was 6'1.5".
Oh, that's pretty decent size. Yeah. Especially if you got a bunch of short Italian people hanging around him.
Yeah. When Zorba the Greek comes to town, he's not here to fuck around.
Yeah, man. That moment, was amazing. The fool kind of stumbles down, and then passes away, and you're kind of left in this moment of, oh shit, Bonnie and Clyde. But she's like, no, I don't want to be in a Bonnie and Clyde fucking situation. Why did you do that?
Yeah.
And that's another trope I love in movies, when you put two people who are sort of in a relationship into a debacle like that, where the stakes are really high. I'm kind of a sucker for that stuff.
Well, I also love the hints that this is clearly the first time he's ever killed somebody. Like this, he's thought about it, he's wanted to do it, but he's never actually been faced with the reality of it, and he is terrified.
Yeah.
But Anthony Quinn does such a great job masking that you kind of believe he might have killed somebody before, but little hints about, like, the way he just kind of he freaks out a little bit more frequently than usual. He's always kind of, a little on edge after that. And I love the way that Quinn played that. It was just so perfect. A man who is so scared but refuses to show it. Like, just he's so, like, unfamiliar with his emotions that he just pushes down anything, including fear.
Yeah.
Like, that is amazing.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. So good, man. Yeah. The more we're talking about it, the more I'm just kind of realizing how just precisely good it is, how solid of a film it is. I love that. Love that. That's I've said it before. That's one of my favorite things about the show.
Yeah, man, me too, man.
Yeah, wonderful stuff. Do you have anything else to say about Fellini, about La Strada?
I won't call myself a Fellini fan, but I will give La Strada an 8.
Yes, yeah, I also give La Strada an 8. Knights of Cabiria 8, 8.5, 9, and a Marcord 8. So it's kind of across the board. I'm all good here on those 4.
Cool.
What do you got? You have 8 for La Strada. Knights of Cabiria will give a chance, and then what about the other 2?
8.5 gets a 5. Amarcord gets a 6.
Okay, fair enough. 5 and 6. So you definitely liked 8.5 the least. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was very much just, pointing a camera and, like, look at my genius. Look at what I can do.
So, I'm the man. Yeah. That's fantastic. Well, next week we have another one. I haven't seen it. Have you? No. We're going back even further than La Strada. We're going back to the 30s, back to 1933 for She Done Him Wrong. And this is a movie I've definitely heard about, and you and I were kind of throwing around ideas, and we want to do an old school movie, kind of do a 30s film, something that kind of happened at the beginning of the Oscars history. And so, She Done Him Wrong was just up for Best Picture. It had no other nominations, so going to be kind of fascinating to do that. That rarely happens with us, where we're just doing one-time nomination, unless it's something like In Bruges, or Fight Club. So so this is going to be really fun. I can't wait to go into that territory. The movie is like an hour long, so this is going to be totally different than what we're used to. And we're going to use Mae West as kind of a jumping off point. We might watch some of her other movies. We'll kind of jump around, with 1933, Mae West, and just see what happens.
Mae West, Hollywood's original sex symbol, and also her co-star, Mr. Cary Grant. We get to talk about him, and I am a big fan of Cary Grant. So we'll be bringing up some of his work. I'm sure it'll be a very intriguing episode. It's a pre-Hays Code Hollywood movie, so I'm interested to see what they tried to get away with.
Yeah. So just real quick, the quick little plot synopsis is in the gay 90s, a seductive nightclub singer contends with several suitors, including a jealous escaped convict and a handsome temperance league member. Yeah, I mean, for pre-Hays Code, this sounds like right up her alley. Yeah.
In the gay 90s. That'd be the 1890s.
Yes. Yeah. No. Yeah. Not the night. Not. Yeah. Not like fucking Adam Sandler's 90s. No.
This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, man. I'm excited.
Killer. Be sure to catch Jurassic Park on the Filmgazm podcast this Wednesday. with new co-host Caleb Leger, longtime Filmgazm contributor and co-founder, back in the fold. Finally, so excited. Check out our sneak preview covering Zack Snyder's Justice League Director's Cut. And be sure to tune into the Giggle Guys on Friday.
Hell yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next Sunday.